This is going to be a short one today, possibly and probably the shortest one ever because it is the shortest album ever. As a matter of fact, it's not even an album, it's an EP. I don't even think it's an EP, I think it's really just a single. It's also the first one I've ever done that is in cassette format. Look at this. Do you remember these things? They're called cassettes. And I'll get to this right away. This is Cardiel, Aloha from Fuzz. And this is Cardiel, Aloha from Fuzz. And this tattoo back here is also Cardiel. It's not Aloha from Fuzz, but it is a big Cardiel tattoo on my leg. I have quite a history with Cardiel. Not the longest like I have with some other bands, but Cardiel, I talked about them before, their first album, Local Solo. I did it maybe 2 years ago before I rebranded it to be called I Want to Talk About This Album. That was just, I love this album, or maybe it was I Want to Talk About This Album, I don't know. But a little history with Cardiel. It's a duo. It's that means two. There's two of them. This is Samantha on drums, and this is Miguel on guitar and vocals, and there they are there in miniature form as well. They personally are from Valencia, Venezuela. They both separately moved to Mexico City many years ago, and they got together, and they're a couple, but they also started this band called Cardiel. And I first heard of them in 2015, opening for Radio Moscow in Mexico City, and the Rising Sun too. Were playing that night. That show really changed my world musically. That introduced me to a lot of great Mexican bands, directly and indirectly. So Cardiel played that night. I've seen Cardiel 33 times. I've seen them live more than any other band. I think I've seen them in 5 states in Mexico, in many different venues. I've seen them here in Cuernavaca, many times in Mexico City, Puebla, Toluca, lots of places. They don't have a large catalog. They've got this was just an EP that came out in 2017 after Local Solo, the first album, and they have an album that came out, was it last year or 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago, called Armageddon After Party, Armageddon After Party. But I'm going to talk about this today. And the reason I'm doing this was, I got this recently. If you saw my video when I was shopping for records, my dog is barking outside at another dog that's walking past. Such an egregious offense for another dog to enter my dog's territory, meaning the street. So I bought this at La Roma Records in Mexico City a week and a half ago. Last weekend I was there. And it's on cassette. And I don't know if I'm sure they didn't release this on CD, maybe vinyl. I have a feeling they made like 20 records when this came out, like in 2017, or maybe it was the year after in 2018. But I'll talk about this today. They're maybe the most unique band of all the bands I listen to. It's maybe the hardest to describe Cardiel. First of all, they don't sound like anybody. They're very unique. They're very heavy, but they're definitely not metal. They're very fast and angry and energetic, but I wouldn't call them punk. I think they get billed most often either by themselves or by promoters or other fans as skate rock. I don't know what skate rock really is. I know they like skateboarding. They're named after, Cardiel is named after, the band is named after the famous skateboarder called John Cardiel. That's where they took their name from. They also have a little bit of reggae in a lot of their songs. Very unique. They sing mostly in Spanish, but they have some English too. Cher Fernandez. And this is also good timing. The reason I was doing this now, I maybe would have got to this later, is that they're touring the U.S. now. They did an East Coast tour, or eastern side of the U.S. earlier this year. They played in Georgia and Atlanta, Florida, I think North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, New York. You know what the eastern part of the United States is. And now I think they're in the middle of a West Coast U.S. tour. I think they started in Texas. They either played in or will be playing in Louisiana all the way up to Seattle or somewhere in Washington, I think Oregon, Idaho maybe, all through, I think a bunch of shows in California, including for Kirk, if Kirk is watching this, because I've taken, if you go on YouTube and search for Cardiel, almost every video you're going to find was taken by me from all the many times I've seen them. And Kirk has commented before, and maybe some others on how good they are. But for Kirk, they're playing in San Diego this week on Friday or Saturday this week. They're playing in San Diego. So I highly recommend for Kirk, if you're watching this, go see Cardiel. And they're playing in Oceanside, I think, and Santa Cruz, and a bunch of shows through California. So if there are any California viewers, and I know there are some, please go see Cardiel. Tell them I send you and say hello, and take a picture together with them, and please send it to me. I'd like to see that. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I will open this now. As you can see, it was 80 pesos. And this is just 3 songs, as I said. It's and they're short too. I think they're only 2. I think the longest song is around 4 minutes. The other 2 are a little bit over 2 something. So you can listen to this whole thing in 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes, maybe 8 or 9. Let me open this up. And I love this artwork. This is just the best. It's so colorful. I love the actual image, like the drawing of Miguel and Samantha on a tropical island. Very, very cool. And I think this shirt was, I think they only printed 30 of these shirts or something, and I got one. So, now cassette, the reason I did buy this on cassette was because Mr. Rust from the band Rusty Eye, he sent me that boombox. So I have a boombox player now. So I actually have something that I can play this cassette on, which I will do at some point. God, and I hated cassettes. I think I've talked about this briefly before. Cassettes suck. They're such an awful medium. Records, okay, you can make a case for records being good. CDs are great, but cassettes suck. 8 tracks I never got into, but cassettes are just the worst medium. So here it is. Let me open it up. There it is. Obviously repeated on both sides. Yeah, presumably. Look there's hardly any actual physical tape in there. No need. Repeated. And now this was self-recorded. Miguel and Samantha together in their house, they had a recording studio called Vesubio 34. They closed it down earlier this year to head out and follow their dreams and tour. So they recorded this. Miguel also does a lot of mixing and mastering and recording of other bands in his studio. So he's not just a musician. He's a well-rounded guy. He does a lot of stuff. Now, I should say one thing that I don't like about this. Amazing, amazing songs, but I don't know why. This always sounded, well, of course, always. I always thought it sounded muted, kind of quiet, muted, muffled, which I don't understand why, because the first album, Loco Solo, sounded just incredible. Everything about it was fantastic. I don't know what happened with this. I guess that was the way they wanted it, because they did it themselves, but it's not the best sounding. It's very quiet. When this comes on, after I've been listening to other music, this one I have to turn it way, way up to hear it. And I can never get as loud as I want. So it comes with a couple of little, these are, if anybody wants to take these are download codes. There, if you want to pause, there's the download code for Aloha from Fuzz. That's courtesy of me. And there's the download code for Loco Solo, their first record from 2012 maybe. So those are free for anybody to take them. And let me see the insert of this. Just very simple. Just Cardiel, Aloha from Fuzz. I think I have 3 Aloha. I have this different designs, but 3 Aloha from Fuzz shirts. So there it is. Produced by Cardiel, recorded by Miguel. Recorded by Miguel and Samantha in Vesubio Grabaciones in Mexico City. Mixed by Miguel. mastered by, maybe that's the problem. Maybe it was the mastering. I don't know. I think that is the mastering. Mastered by Chris Common in El Paso, Texas. And the graphics were done in Oceanside by Silo Graphics, P-S-Y-L-O Graphics. That's who did this, the cover. So that's who it is that I love so much. So there it is. So not much to talk about here, only 3 songs. The first song is Cocktail de Gas. This is all in Spanish. All the songs on this one are in Spanish. Cocktail de Gas. I sang this song with them when they played. I've sang with Cardiel, I think about 4 times. I've sang 3 different songs. One song I think I've sung twice, and 2 other ones I've sung once each, including Cocktail de Gas. I sang it here in Cuernavaca. And this album is very, very heavy. All the songs are tremendously heavy, but again, not metal. This is Distorsionada. God, I can't remember the lyrics now, and they're so simple too. Visión distorsionada, vinagre cubre la cara, cocktail de gas, screaming, just screaming and screaming. And then their songs lyrically are very simple, usually just 1 or 2 lines. Sometimes, maybe they repeat them. And the second verse, I guess, is desfigurada, visión desfigurada, tu futuro no vale nada. Cocktail de gas, da, 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 da. And then it kind of pauses, and then there's just this really heavy dun, 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 breakdown part. That's maybe as close to metal I think as Cardiel ever got, was that the breakdown, kind of the last 30 seconds or so of Cocktail de Gas. Fantastic, just unbelievably heavy. Next song is Anti-Iglesia, which is a portmanteau of anti and iglesia, Anti-Iglesia. This is I would say is my favorite Cardiel song in their whole catalog. It's just explosive, and they played this live for quite a few years before they recorded it. So when this came out, I was already familiar with it. And it's lyrically, it's all about just, I guess, the contradictions of religion and things like that. It's about how it's you have to pay to be forgiven, and lyrically now this is all in Spanish. And I've probably learned more in Spanish from listening to Cardiel than I have in all my other life in Mexico. But naciste mal, arrepiéntete. But he's screaming, naciste mal, arrepiéntete, which is, I guess, like born evil or born bad, and you must repent. They talk about divorciado, almost if you're divorced or homosexual, you're gonna that's a sin, and you're gonna pay for it. And the business of their religion is just like a business of man, and the only good church is a church that's burning. And then this song has a great kind of the last half of it is more like a kind of a reggae. It really changed in the last half. Fantastic. My favorite Cardiel song. They have a lot that I love. If I've seen them 33 times, but Anti-Iglesia, especially when they play it live, it's just explosive is the best way to describe Anti-Iglesia. And the last song on Aloha from Fuzz is called Benzedrina. Ojo Viocinel. Not sure what that one's about. It's and again, very just short. It's 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I don't know if it says on here, and just very, very simple lyrics. Pidiendo clemencia, like you have to ask for clemency. And also just very, very heavy song. And I think they're great live too. As I said, I've seen them 33 times. They don't always open with the same song. I've seen them open with, I think I've seen them open with all 3 of these songs at different points. Sometimes they play some of these last, in the encore or whatever. But that's it for Cardiel, Aloha from Fuzz. I don't know if I have too many international viewers, or when I say international, but especially in the West Coast of the United States. Go see Cardiel. Do me the favor. People like to say, do yourself a favor. No, do me a favor, although you will get something out of it too. And go see Cardiel and listen to them do probably every song from Aloha from Fuzz.